And we're live. Hello, everybody. Good morning to another
Meow.
episode of Morning Ritual, our TTRPG talk show. I am one of your hosts, Anita. My pronouns are she, they. And down here is.
The other one. I think I got it right this time.
Yeah, you did
I'm,
it.
I'm the one. My pronouns are he, they. Uh, yeah. Listen, folks. I'll be transparent with you. I've got a gnarly migraine, so if I seem a little off, it's that and the coffee. I don't know what's gonna happen, so we're gonna have a good time.
There's going to be some weird cross interactions happening here, and I'm very excited for it. But we've got an amazing guest today. Jess, why
Hell
don't you tell
yeah.
everybody about yourself?
Hi, I'm Jess Levine. Pronouns are she, her. Want me to talk a little bit about what I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell everybody about
Absolutely.
who you are, what you do in the space, that sort of jazz.
Excellent. Okay, so I am a game designer. I was about to say first and foremost, but I wear a lot of hats. That is one of the main ones that I wear. I've made a few games at this point. I Have the High Ground is one of them, which is a two-player dueling game of banter, posturing, and caves. Noir is holding that right there, the premium set. of
Bingo.
and wonderfully, Anita has actually played that
I
on
have.
Critical Misses. It was an incredible game. Anita and Darby were so dramatic in exactly the way that game is supposed to be. It was just really wonderful to see. And
That's such a good
then
feeling when the designer of a game tells you, like, you played it exactly how I wanted you to play it. Like, hell yeah.
from the very beginning of that episode, the things that you were excited for, like the elements of the drama that got you too excited, showed me that you would play it the way that like I was hoping, and it just like all went from there. It was so good.
Ah, uh, I have an amazing partner on Two Player Tuesdays with Darby. When we get back to that, and like it's a lot of fun. Darby's work schedule has impeded our Tuesdaying, but we are
Totally.
co-GMing a game right now, and like I just love bouncing things off of her. She's great. She's such a good collaborator and such a good GM. Like,
Totally.
Speaking of the derby, we were just talking about how your game is at retail shops, and Darby is a fantastic salesperson of games, and this one has been flying off the shelves. This just seems to fit a niche that people are excited for once they learn a little bit more about the game. So I think that's got to be cool to experience.
Thank you. I think like it's the right moment for it in a bunch of ways. Like we're living in a post-thirsty sword lesbians era, right? So like the homoerotic sword fighting is definitely in, but also uh one of the things I really wanted to do with I Have the High Ground is be like, hey, you don't, one, combat doesn't have to be the center of a thing. There's drama that isn't combat. And two, like, so often we see like non-combat things in service of combat, like all of these metaphors that get used to like fight. I wanted to do the opposite with I Have the High Ground, which is that for those who aren't familiar, each round of I Have the High Ground, you choose thrust, parry, or feint, which are different fencing moves, but you don't actually hit each other.
no.
What you're doing is bantering and posturing, and like a paint is a witty comeback. Feint. A parry is a witty comeback, where a feint is baiting someone into like overreacting to you, and like a thrust is just like a straight up insult. Because in all honesty, I Have the High Ground's mechanics. It's like a rock, paper, scissors of those three. They can be used for an actual fight. I've actually seen podcasts who adapted the game in order to play it as a physical fight. While I was making it, said, I know that could work. I don't want to make that the design of the game to show people that you can take these metaphors and use them in service of banter. They're like the scene before everyone fights is actually probably the most interesting part of the movie, right? Action sequences are good, but like you got to
Oh
get
yeah.
the yeah. Thank you. I think it is hitting a niche, and like I'm very excited about the reception of it. It was my first crowdfunder, and
Hmm.
only my second game, and I was just
Wow.
blown away by the reaction to it.
You
Um,
hit a freaking home run on this thing. It's just As an aside, I think you said something like paint. You meant to say faint and parry, and I for real was like, "Is this? Are we going to look at the expansion? Is this a new move?"
The secret fifth move. Uh,
There's also there's because there's feint, parry, thrust, and then there is the penalty move as well,
yes.
which is like you basically throw your sword away and uh, and you just say, "Well, fine then, come at me, bro." I
Yes,
love the
exactly.
penalty move; it's so good.
I was literally, when I was designing it, going through the like International Olympic Fencing Commission's list of penalties, being like, what things are actual penalties in fencing so that I can turn them into like a dueling equivalent, which was very fun. I love adaptational games.
Hmm.
So one of my other games, which I'll probably talk about, Going Rogue, is an adaptation of Star Wars Rogue One. The Scum and Villains expansion is an adaptation of like Star Wars crime stories. I'm actually working right now on a game called Planet Fist, which is an adaptation of PlanetSide 2. Um, and I just really enjoy being like, how do I take a thing and then translate it to a different medium and then allow people to tell their own version of these stories,
Yes.
or like take up my problems with the media and be like, let's engage with the parts that I think suck by making them better in my version of this. So yeah, I just love doing that, and it was very fun for the penalty moves.
So tell me a little bit about Going Rogue. That's your
Yes,
expansion, or you have an expansion for it, and it is based off of Rogue One, which I adore that movie so much.
it is my favorite Star Wars. Well, now we live in a post Andor world, so Andor is my favorite Star Wars, but like movies and like it was my favorite. So Going Rogue is a belonging outside belonging game. That's a system made by Avery Alder and Benjamin Rosenbaum for Dream Askew, Dream Apart, which is it's a diceless, GMless systems. No dice, no masters. And
Love that.
it's like
I love GMless games.
it's so fun. For a while, I was making nothing but GMless games. Planet Fist is my first GM'd game, which is very wild territory for me. Um, but um, yeah, so Going Rogue, you are playing playbooks inspired by different characters from Rogue One. And then there are pillars, which are elements of the setting that you also inhabit in order to skip the GM, right? So everyone gets to inhabit the GM role through those. And the reception to Going Rogue has also been amazing, especially I appeared on A More Civilized Age, which is like Austin Walker, Rob Zachney, Natalie Watson's podcast. And like
Mhm.
it's been very exciting reception since then. And it just qualified as a finalist for the Crit Awards. Which is like a new TTRPG award show, and it is one
Yes.
of 4 finalists for the best GMless game of the year, which I
Hell
am
yeah.
blown away. Voting is open right now for finalists, where there's like so many categories, like 40 categories, including like podcasting and homebrew, and like you should check out the Crit Awards. Very cool. But yeah, it is. Going Rogue was my first game, the original first version, and was an expansion for Riley Rethel's Galactic 2E, which is like a mainline Star Wars meant to capture the sort of Skywalker movies. And I realized I was playing Galactic, loving it. In fact, I loved it so much. The campaign that I was a part of got the 4 of us in that game wrote 150,000 words of short fiction in the universe of that game. We were just like, it was early pandemic and we were obsessed. I wrote 50,000 words of short stories myself, just about these TTRPG characters. And so I loved it. And I wanted to play a Rogue One like story. And I realized Riley's game is built to tell the stories of charming heroes, which I love. But that's not Rogue One's story. Rogue One is tragic martyrs, like gritty and dirty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let's use the same mechanics and do something that is a little dirty, a little more grim. And that's how Going Rogue was born for the Galactic Game Jam. Actually, there was a game jam, and it was my first ever release. And then eventually I was like, I could make this bigger. In fact, I could make this practically its own game, which it kind of is right now. And so at the finale of Andor, or sorry, the premiere of Andor, I released a second edition of Going Rogue. And that like really expanded it into nearly its own game. It's kind of like a hack of the galactic system. Yeah, it's one of the works I am most proud of.
Oh, that's so awesome. And like just I love games where they take the elements, like the core elements of things like uh, of of a property and like translate it in such a way that it feels like you are playing in that sandbox and in that universe. It's one of the reasons why I love Star
Mhm.
Trek Adventures so much is they do the stakes of a Star Trek game very, very well with the momentum and threat pools. And I feel like Rogue One also sort of hits that good sweet spot on, or Going Rogue hits that good sweet spot on like making you feel like you are on a doomed mission and you are making the best of it at like having I haven't played it yet, but I was you were kind enough to send me a review copy, so I've had a chance to read through the rules a little bit, and I'm very excited to bring it on for like a one shot one of these nights.
Heck yeah. Uh,
It's good.
I'm just curious. Like, this is, uh, I have the high ground as your second swing at this, and this is seen tremendous success. Is that a little daunting when it comes to developing uh, anything after that?
Good question. Honestly, I would think the opposite for me. I was so blown away by people's reaction. I have the high ground. I was like, I can actually do this? Like really? I can actually be a game designer? Like there was a moment of like, especially with Going Rogue, I think I was still suffering from a lot of imposter syndrome, and I had the high
Yeah.
ground was like, oh my god, people want this thing. That's so cool. Let's keep doing this. That said, I do continually like sort of disbelieve it. Like I found out that someone bought one of my games in like the Netherlands at a game store, and like I distribute through Indie Press Revolution, so I don't know where they're sending it. But finding out you can buy my game physically in international stores, I was like, when did that happen? It's very very cool. Um,
I love that instead of like going, oh, can I do it again? You're like, hey, I can do it. Like that is just such a positive outlook. Uh, that's awesome. I really do appreciate that, and I have to wonder, um, what's it like watching folks play your game? And is there ever a time where you've watched someone and gone, ooh,
So hilariously, most of the time when I go watching someone play my game, which does happen, I am looking at myself because it's like a
mm,
clearly I didn't communicate that rule well enough for it to stick with you if there's like something that they're doing differently than I intended. Like
okay,
I see that as a design and writing issue. And it's part of why playtesting is so important, right? I played 20 games if I have the high ground myself, probably before I released that game, because I wanted to see what are all the ways this can get misinterpreted. And I like included a lot of notes, like a lot of here's some advice. Um, Cannibal Halfling, which is a review site, like they said that my calling card in my games between Going Rogue and I Have the High Ground is really good player tips. Really good, like
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
thank you. And so that comes from playtesting over and over again and being like, let's notice. I actually have an article coming out soon in Sandy Pug Games blog about how to write good player tips. And one of the things I say, find what advice you give at the table and then write it down. Because there's so much advice you will give out loud that you don't even think of.
Hmm.
Listen to yourself facilitate and write it down and see what problems people have. And you'll come back with, like, oh, try this. Get that on paper. You need more than the rules. Get the table advice. And so that's really where that a lot of that came from. Also from Seda is a design consultant on that game and was the very first playtester. And they are so good at being like, I'm having a problem here. I'm going to explain exactly the problem as it is in my mind in order for you to be able to like write a solution to it. Having
Hmm.
someone who knows how to look at your game and break it down and be like, here are all the friction points I am finding, invaluable.
wow.
Um, and so, yeah, but original question is like, there are still things I'm always going to miss. I'm never going to catch every possible issue. And so when I go like, oh, you didn't need to continue using the opening mechanic for the later turns, or
Oh,
like I'm like, okay, I could have communicated that better. I could have specified this lasts for one
Yeah.
round. Oh no. And also, almost everyone always makes it there, right? Like people play it at the table differently, and they always will. Players do things with your game you'd never imagine. I know someone who turned I Have the High Ground, because it doesn't have to be fencing or sword fighting. It
No.
is a genre neutral game. It's just anytime you're dueling. Someone's duel was trying to win a like pudding like peel the lid contest. Like they were trying to buy as many. They were suburban housewives trying to compete to win like a pudding raffle by like turning in the codes after they opened it up. I saw a post-apocalyptic bake-off, lesbian like dyke X drama at a Halloween party, where one of them was cosplaying Gideon Nav from the Locked Tomb trilogy.
Oh my gosh.
It's just players will always do something you never expected, and sometimes that's messing with the rules, and usually it's because that's their brilliant version of play. And so it's not a failure. It just makes me feel like, oh, I could have communicated.
It's not a bug, it's a feature sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no,
I didn't have anything.
Okay,
No,
I was just as a quick turnaround, because I know that we have a little less time today. I did want to make sure that we get some of our standard questions in, and I know it's not the best segue, but we've got some weird questions for you, and I want to make sure we get to them. All right. The first one is particularly going to break my heart, but here we go. There is a war in the TTRPG community between those of us who see these as just storytelling devices. You roll them, you look at the results, and then you tell your story. Then there are others who feel that they should go in your mouth to be crunched. I am aware that there are edible dice, but they say edible dice is crunching. They want to crunch with dice that you're not supposed to eat, which is a choking and a dental hazard. So, Jess, I have to ask, what side of this war are you on? Are you on team Crunch Crew or Stop the Crunch? Or
I am
are
going
you
to
gonna
do
go ahead. Let's see.
a streaming no-no. And in order to make this quite suspenseful, forgive me for about 20 seconds.
Oh no, you're good. Do you think? Do you
Do
think? If they're a cruncher, I'm gonna punch. I'm gonna punch a baby.
Don't punch the baby.
I'm gonna punch a baby right in its baby face. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Here's a classic powered by the apocalypse 2d6.
No! Oh!
Well, one of them's a fate dice actually, so I got a plus and a 5. Crunch Crew.
You missed the. We gotta find a baby. Apparently.
Find a baby?
Yeah.
You walked up. I was like, if Jess is a crash, I'm gonna punch your baby. I swear to God.
Oh no!
This is on you. You did.
Cubes. They're so. Okay, so my wife and I play a lot of a game called Terraforming Mars, which has these beautiful little like board game with these beautiful bronze and gold cubes and these colored see-through cubes. We talk like every time we play, which is quite frequently, about like we have to stop from just sitting and munching the cubes. We would have no cubes left if we did it.
It's that primal, like when you're like a little kid and there's sugar cubes around and you always have to like pop one in your mouth.
I literally did that. I would like go in the pantry and like steal out sugar cubes. Like
what? Wait, y'all, wait. I think I hit a cultural wall. What? They're just sugar cubes around?
Yeah.
There was a box of Domino sugar cubes. I think they were used for like coffee, or like you
Yeah.
drop them into your coffee
My mom would keep sugar cubes around for like if they were having sleigh rides or hosting people.
AJ, were there ever just sugar cubes around your place, or am I crazy? I've never.
And yeah, she gets sugar cubes to feed the horses sometimes.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not. I've never been around horses like that.
I grew
I'm
up on
either. I'm quite scared of horses. Big strong leg. My wife thinks it's very funny.
Never have sugar cubes around normally. Yeah, and I mean sometimes for guests and stuff, if we're hosting a lot of people, you don't want to just put out a sugar bowl because then
Noir now has a diagram. All right, next question. All right, Jess, you are God Emperor of the TTRPG community. Any three things you want to have happen, no matter how big or small, you snap your fingers and it happens. What changes do you make
It's a
to
lot
the
of power, I know.
TTRPG space?
Oh my god. I would be developing the most intricate plans. I'm a planner. Like I would really that said, if I have to go off the cuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. This is maybe a little Watsy disappears.
No,
All
you're
the people
good.
can go elsewhere. But given
That is a
their
very common
That is
answer.
a-
Actually, you're good.
You're in good
given
company.
the hiring of Pinkertons, given the entire OGL fiasco, like also just like D&D dominating the space in the way that it does is like so frustrating, especially given the like racist and colonialist origins of that game, that like it never will fully kick. And like yeah, there's just so much out there that like D&D sucks all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
And I wish it's not even that I dislike like a fantasy game like that. I just really wish more people got to see the full diversity of what TTRPGs can be. And I think disappearing D&D would leave a lot of room for that. So both WotC and D&D.
So here's my question: with WotC and D&D gone, what would you do with their resources?
Oh my god! Wow, Jesus, this is such a beautifully deep question. I mean, like it has to be a distribution, right? Like part of the problem of WotC is that they are one market. And I think like breaking it up into a bunch of smaller things, giving so many small creators the opportunity to make the weirdest things imaginable, and like also a variety of voices, right? Like in terms of different marginalized experiences, there would be so much to give out. Also, I'm a communist. I would love to democratize the means of production, and that includes the
These
means
them.
I was this close to playing the communist thing.
Absolutely, the manifesto or the international Soviet anthem blares.
So you have two more commands or wishes, as it were. Okay. We've dissolved WotC and spread their resources across the space.
That's a good opening move.
Yes, I've
solid
done
opening move.
Really broad-reaching like political one. So now we're gonna get really personal and self-indulgent. Every TTRPG has capes. Every single one.
Yes.
They all have capes. Pretty much every one of my games so far has had capes. I need to add capes to Planet Fist. Capes are the coolest thing in the world. I love them. Every character should have one. And in fact, I have not said this publicly, so this will be my sort of announcement. My plan is that for the anniversary of Have the High Ground, which is July 26th, I'm going to run Cape Jam, which is make a 10 pages or less game, and it must have mechanically significant capes. Not just capes, they have to have a mechanical effect, which I Have the High Ground does. The length of your cape can affect the game.
Yes.
And so I'm planning to run Cape Jam.
Whoever has the best cape goes first. And I have the high ground.
Yes. And how do you rate the best cape? I love that you all took votes on it, but in my world, the best cape is very much determined by length, because I think floor length capes are perfect. So I used Price is Right rules, closest to floor length without going over. Because why? I like them.
Have you ever seen? It's a really fucked up movie, The Cell, a Jennifer Lopez movie, like from the 90s. There's this demon that has like hooks in his back, and like the wall has red draping curtains, and when he steps forward, like you see that the curtains on the wall are just his cape. As he moves forward and like leaves the wall, and then just starts flowing behind him. Like I need to find that for you, because I think when I think of like the ultimate capes, that comes to mind, and of course Spawn comes to mind. Those are the two best capes on the planet.
So unbelievably cool. an incredibly sad thing for me, and like this is a very basic cape. This is very much a staple cape, but like it's just like perfect in my mind. But also, I'm so sad. The origin of it is Krennic's cape from Rogue One, which like it's imperial. It's like some fashy character, which I hate, but it's just the exact right cut, the exact right length, like frames the shoulders right. I have looked at on Etsy about getting a Krennic cosplay cape and not the rest of the uniform because like fuck people who cosplay as Nazis. Can I swear here?
Yeah, you're
Oh,
fine.
absolutely.
Okay. Who cosplay as Nazis in Star Wars drives me insane. But just the cape. It's just the cape that I want. And so complicated feelings, but it's my ideal.
Love it so much. Okay. So we've
I
got
believe you have one more.
Cape,
We've
you've got
dissolved
one more.
WotC. Have stressed the importance of capes,
Yes, every game.
which I fully support. I think we need to bring back some of the fantasy clothing that we just have left behind for t-shirts and jeans.
So yes, completely.
Agreed.
Or like in futuristic flight suits. I'm very, very sci-fi. And so like I will dress up for a lot of my games. I have Cassian's captain pin from Rogue One, and I'll like wear that, or I'll like I have a Battlestar Galactica uniform, and I have worn that to games before. But what was I say? The next thing is almost a betrayal of my first thing. So I've got my like big anti-corporate statement. I've got my indulgent capes. Now I'm gonna get really indulgent and betray my own politics. My last thing is that I get any license I want. Like if I want to make a like Star Wars game, I've got the license. If I want to make specifically the game that I want the license so bad, give me Battlestar Galactica. Give me Battlestar Galactica. It is like my favorite show. I will do it better than they did it. I will have better politics. I will fix all of the problems, and I will make incredible space fleets, space opera drama. Let me be the admiral. I've got this. So that's the story.
I don't think that's a portrayal. I think that's on brand. Your signature game is I have the high ground, so it only makes sense that you would give us a reason to go. You were the chosen one.
Yes. It's so funny that game is named I Have the High Ground. I didn't even think about the fact that it would make all of my games sound like Star Wars games, because in my mind it's like one, such a diffuse cultural artifact, like that phrase. And then also, at the time I made that game, I had seen Revenge of the Sith once as a child and hated that Star Wars, so I never watched it again, and made a game using a quote from it. So like everyone, it gives the impression I'm like, it's all Star Wars. It's like, no, that's just a really funny name for that game that I made.
I think it's perfect because I don't think I've ever met a person that can't quote that scene. Like, even if you hate the movie, it's become such a thing that everybody can quote it now.
Absolutely, it has. Also, I have to give attention to the chat to someone saying the flight suit tied at the waist is a sick look. 100%. Understand that like space pilot women, when I transitioned, I wanted to transition into Samantha Carter from Stargate SG-1 and Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. Like,
yes!
Transition goals. And if you look on my Twitter, I'm Jess from Online on Twitter, you can see like when I had the blonde hair, it was all based on Samantha Carter from SG-1 and Starbuck from. It was just too expensive to keep dyeing my hair like that, but that is who I am in my heart. And so flight suit tied at the waist, exactly. It's perfect. It's everything I want.
Yeah, I really gotta watch more Battlestar.
So good. It's so good. I've rewatched it 4 times now, I think.
I'm old school, and so DS9 and Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, they had beef for a little bit there.
Yes.
So I'm just like, yes. I chose my set, and I'm not betraying it.
Hilariously, okay, here's a story. I hated Battlestar Galactica as a child because I was a big Sci-Fi Channel watcher. My mom actually introduced me to sci-fi. My dad hates it. And we watched a lot of Sci-Fi Channel back when it was called SCIFI instead of SY. And I watched a lot of Yes, Sydney. I watched a lot of Stargate reruns. That was like my big thing. And I was a Stargate fan. Like between Star Wars, Star Trek, and Stargate was my big thing. And then they started advertising Battlestar Galactica as the age where I was seeing lots of BSG ads. And then I started watching it with my mom. And then I was pretty young at this time. They started having like it's a very serious adult soap opera. It had sex scenes. And my mom was like, "You're done with this show. This is too adult for your current age." And I was like, "It's a bad show and I hate it now," because I wasn't allowed to watch it. And so it wasn't until I was like an adult I came back to it and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's really good actually." And now it's one of my favorite things. But I totally understand what you mean about having beef with a show. I've been there. Also, Star Trek is great too. I haven't actually watched DS9, which everyone is shocked by, but I am on the last season of The Next Generation, and I grew up watching Next Generation VHSs at a friend's house, so
Nice.
love Star Trek.
Oh, you're in for a treat when you get into DS9. You're in for a
Absolutely.
treat. And your story about Battlestar actually reminds me of my story of experience with Farscape. My folks tried to stop me from watching Farscape, and that just made me watch it harder.
Yes, absolutely. I started watching Farscape because two actors, after Farscape got canceled, they took Ben Browder and I can't remember the female lead's name.
Claudia Black.
Black hair. Claudia Black, thank you. And they just became the protagonists of Stargate because the previous male lead left the show. And so they literally just take the Stargate main actors or the Farscape main actors and make them the protagonists of Stargate in the last 2 seasons. And so I was like, I like these two. Let's try Farscape. It was very wild.
Farscape is so weird and gross and
So weird.
incredible, and I love it so much.
Scorpius is just one of the greatest villains of all time. I just want to put that out there.
Also in chat, The Expanse also has great flight suit looks. So true. Kamina Drummer, all-time classic character. There's a great tweet about sci-fi shows be like intimidating woman in a onesie saying yes captain. And I love Drummer. She also reads audiobooks. Her actress actually reads audiobooks and reads one of my favorite books, The Light Brigade. She is a fantastic audiobook narrator. So Drummer fans out there.
Also a voice actor. She does voices in a lot of BioWare games too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of rivalries, BioWare versus Bethesda, I've long since stopped caring, but I was a big Bethesda not BioWare person in high school, so another franchise I haven't
Okay, so that wasn't an imagined beef, because I heard of that too.
Oh, 100%. Very intense gaming beef.
Incredible.
Well, like a Bethesda game is great after it's been out for a year and everybody fixed it.
But sorry, Anita, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that we've got a couple more questions to get through. And the next one is you have the choice of sitting at the table and playing any RPG with 5 individuals. You don't, so yourself and 5 others. You get to pick the game and who's GMing. They have to be alive right now. Who are you going for?
Alive right now, okay. And here's the thing. I also have to decide, what am I going for? Am I going for TTRPG people I'm, really excited with? Or, just famous people? Because that's, on the table. Or what do I
This
want
is a
here?
once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so it's just like if you had that one chance, what would you do?
Do
Eye in the sky.
just want U.S. presidents and to do some things in Minecraft? So
I love those TikToks.
yes.
Big bong.
Exactly. But no, let's see. I think I'll keep it to the TTRPG space because if I go too large, I really could lose the plot very quickly. Anyone. Maybe this is a basic answer, and you two had the wonderful getting to have him on your show, but Brendan Lee Mulligan, I have just incredible respect for. As a GM, as a person.
He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
That would be just a dream for me. And it's funny, I would have said Austin Walker, but that happened with A More Civilized Age, which is still I'm mind blown that that's a real thing that happened in my life. let's see. Who else? Erika Ishii.
Aw,
Yeah.
Just an incredibly funny, talented individual. Um, Gay
they're so
icon.
cool.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Who else? Who else? It's not that there's a lack of options here.
There's
It
too
is that
many.
like exactly
It's
there's
choice
too many.
paralysis.
This
That's
is
the
usually the
problem.
punishment question when people admit that they're crunchers.
Yes. Oh, the punishment question for crunching. Okay, that's fair. I did literally crunch on stream. So, um, who else? Avery Alder, creator of The Quiet Year, etc. I actually should just ask Avery. I know Avery. It's just that I've never played a TTRPG with her, and this is making me realize that would be a dream, and I should
Yeah,
just like
set it
send
up.
a
Make it
DM.
happen. Shoot your shot.
Yes, exactly. Shooting your shot is so important. When I messaged Austin, just like, would you want to play going rogue on the stream? And I got a yes. I was like, I am never not shooting my shot again because I thought this was impossible. But like, hey, let's try it. Sometimes it works. Let's see. Who else? So Avery Alder, Brendan Lee Mulligan, Eric Ishii. Hmm, Again, so many options. I'm trying to think about designers now instead of just like
Yes.
actual play podcasters, right? Like whose design thoughts are so mind-blowing that I like really want to be in there. And that's why Avery is the top of that list. Has completely changed TTRPGs. Other games that have been influencing me recently. 5 Parsecs from Home, but that's actually a solo game. So it doesn't make sense to like sit with the designer. Actually, and this is Connie Chang,
Yeah.
like really the GM advice that Connie gives on like Twitter or on TikTok is just
Yes.
like this is everything about how to like guide a player through a game. Out of this crew, I have no idea who I would pick to GM, but probably both Brandon and Connie would be incredible. Just to get to watch them GM, let alone
Yeah.
participate, would be really, really incredible.
Did you have a game in mind?
Oh man, that's part of the question, isn't it? So
This is
okay,
why it's the punishment question.
yes, because the problem here is also, do I tailor the game to who is there, or do I tailor the game to what I like?
That's
Right?
the question, right?
Um, because if it's what I like, this is a game I like. It is not like my favorite game, but the setting is so. Tachyon Squadron, it's called. It's like Clark Valentine. It is I think Evil Hat Productions. It is a Fate game. It is a Fate game, and it is about space pilots. And like I said, I transitioned into Starbuck. Like I am all about being a space pilot, and so getting to be cool spaceship fighter pilots with these people would be like totally a dream for me. I'm also trying to think of, are there games that I have been begging someone else to DM for me? For a long time, that was Fist by Claymore, which is it is a like Metal Gear and like A-Team inspired like supernatural Cold War. You are a mercenary company of misfits. When I finally got to play it, one of the people was like used to be a stapler and turned into a person. Just like showed up one day. Like you are weird supernatural misfit mercenaries, and I was so excited about that game. And finally, Tony from Plus One EXP ran it for me, and I was like, "This is brilliant!" Which is how Planet Fist happened. It's the game I'm working on right now. It's a supplement, well, a hack of that game. Wow, I'm only at 3 people. You said it was a 5-person table. Does that include me or other
Nope.
people?
Does not include you. You get a free seat. This is your table.
5 other people. Give me a second to sip this as I
I love what this question does to folks because it's just like, I know so many names.
Brennan,
Yes,
Erica, Connie, and I think you had 4.
Oh yes,
Avery.
and Avery. So that's 4.
You got
So
one
one
more.
more.
One more seat at the table.
Seat at the table. Friends at the table. Jack to keep from Friends at the Table. always so incredibly delightful at the table. Like I have never not enjoyed listening to them play a game. And so I think would just be a wonderful table presence. So there is my total 5.
Heck yeah.
Got some designers, got some incredible TTRPG podcasters. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I would be overwhelmed with joy at that. And actually, here's another thing that I will put a little. I am not talking about this like on Twitter for a while, so again, this is a little secret for
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
Yes. I am in the early planning stages of a Going Rogue physical edition that I want to do a crowdfunder for next fall. Gonna time it with the Andor season 2 because good promotion. And I am thinking of putting together like an actual play for that, like trying to hire some people to record like a promotional actual play. And that list of names that I just gave you, there's a couple of them who I am also keeping in mind for that list of names. And no idea if that'll happen. If anyone wants to hook me up with connections, you can. But that is the goal, because I think some of them would do incredible things with my game. And so
clip this and send it out, folks.
Yes, exactly.
Send it.
We'll see.
Hell yeah.
But very excited.
Oh, that's so cool. And I'm very much looking forward to that Kickstarter. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely gonna have to back it.
Thank you.
I have to say, for I have the high ground being your second swing at things, your crowdfunding for it did extraordinarily well. Can I ask, what was your experience with that? Like, did you have help in setting it up, or was this just banging your head against the wall until you get it right?
It was in many ways banging my head against the wall. I had lots of help with the game, making it a game. Like, my contributors are. I really can't say enough how it is a group project. It might have my name on the cover, but like Seda, Will Jobst, Vin, the layout artist, like really Ezra, the illustrator, they made that game so much of what it is. But the crowdfunder, no, that was all me. And I actually have another article coming out in Sandy Pug Games at some point in the next few months on like things not to do in your first crowdfunder, because I learned a lot about things not to do. One of the most stressful times of my last few years.
Yeah.
Running a crowdfunder is such a nightmare. And like there's so much I didn't know going in. And like so one of the things I've really learned is that there's a difference between being a game designer and being someone who sells games. And like I am a small business owner now, and like that is bizarre. I have learned a lot about what it means to be a small business owner and sell physical products. And I have the high ground. There was a lot of development time, a lot of playtesting. The amount of time I have spent writing marketing copy alone is probably as much as I spent developing the game. If you add in the time of like selling, like doing the Kickstarter, fulfilling all of that stuff, it is monumentally more than making the game. And so like when you see people who succeed in like selling TTRPGs and the TTRPGs get popular, like you gotta make a good game. A game that isn't enjoyable is not going to get popular, but making a good game does not mean that people are going to come to your game. That is a tremendous amount of work marketing and putting it in front of people. And yeah, that was an absolutely overwhelming process. I was very lucky. I came in with 10,000 Twitter followers. And so that'll help. And I've like ran a lot of social media campaigns. I did a lot of like photoshopping assets. I like appeared on a billion podcasts. Like I did the whole circuit. But it was completely overwhelming. Like you should see my completely insane Google Sheets. Like the budgeting documents that I was continually revised. I realized day of launch that I had not factored shipping. I was calculating how much shipping would cost, but I hadn't added it back into the stretch goal costs, because every time you sell an additional product, you also lose money to the shipping of that product that does not actually become net profit.
Right.
And when I paid like additional labor for stretch goals, I didn't factor in additional shipping, and all of my stretch goals were like $500 short, and I had to like revise them day of. Oh my god, it's a nightmare. So
I'm so glad you made it through.
thank you. Me too. It was worth it. Like I raised $12,000, which was 4 times my goal, and I was like completely flabbergasted by that. It was
Yeah.
really amazing. But it was a nightmare. I did it off Kickstarter too, because Kickstarter had just I was planning to do a Kickstarter, and months before, Kickstarter released the crypto thing. And I had to find a new platform, and I'm like messaging under crowdfunding platforms, like, will you do this? And I ended up going with Game on Tabletop, which is like a French company. We had to like work through some language barriers. They're really early. They accidentally double charged some of my customers, which they did fix and pay for. But like, no, that made me insane. I had to like message people and be like, I'm so sorry you got charged twice. Like it's really such a process, but I also think for my next one, I know a lot more of what I'm doing, to the degree that before the Going Rogue crowdfunder, I'm also, here's another thing that I've hinted at but not said publicly.
Ooh.
Getting
You're
all the
getting a lot of
exclusives today.
I know, right?
I'm just excited to talk about them. I am working on a Lancer module, like an adventure module
Yes!
for Lancer.
Yes!
And I was originally hired to like write it for like someone's home campaign, and we've fallen so in love with it, we're like, let's publish this. And so now we're a 3-person team working on a Lancer module that's like about resisting colonialism that is coming to your planet via terraforming. So we're looking at spring for that, hopefully, fingers crossed. And after I did a bunch of the initial writing, but at this point, I'm the only one on the team who has published a TTRPG before. So I am now the project manager and crowdfunding manager because that is so its own process. And I had to say, like, this will be just as much work, if not more, as making the game. It's going to be so much. But like, I can do that. I have that skill now. I know how to write a press kit. I know how to write a press release. I know how to make marketing copy. And that is how TTRPGs succeed.
That's
And you
wild.
do know quite a bit about mech stuff, as you are the character model for Glitch in BattleTech.
Yes, I am. I always love getting to reveal that fact. So glad that you know
Wait a
it.
second.
Yeah, if you've played the BattleTech video game, Glitch is me. If you notice, she has brown hair, approximately the length I had it at the time that it released. Her first name is Jessica. She's Jessica Chonovskaya, which is a Ukrainian last name. I'm descended from Ukrainian Jews. She's from the Davian faction, and like I used to run an outfit for PlanetSide called the First Davian Guard, because I was really into that at that point in time. And so yeah, the person who made it, Kiva, is a friend of mine. And so all the 4 starting pilots, by the way, are based on friends of Kiva's. Most of them are on Twitter. And so, yeah, I'm Glitch, and I always get to reveal that to people. One of my favorite moments, the first time Austin Walker talked about me on a podcast, actually, or on a stream, was on the Waypoint stream, and someone clipped it for me because someone on the Waypoint stream, might have been Austin, said that Glitch could do with toning it down a little bit, because she's very intense and very excitable, just like me. That was intentionally designed. And I just tweeted, I heard that Austin Walker, or like the Waypoint stream, said that Glitch could do with toning it down a little. Well, I have an official statement on the matter. I will never tone it down, not even a little bit, until the day that I die. Thank you. And that got read on stream, and that was before I was a game designer or anything, or anyone knew who I was, so I was like, yes. It was very, very exciting moment.
That's wildly awesome.
Thank you. Fun fact, MagFest, which is a like con in the East Coast in Baltimore, they had pods. They looked like photo booths that you were sit in that were mech cockpits. And you could play the like old mech warrior games in a cockpit with a joystick. Coolest thing in the world. And it would put on the outside, you get to enter like a call sign, and it would put it on the outside. And Glitch was the call sign I used when I won a few games in those MagFest pods. And so when I got asked to be as a BattleTech pilot, that is not just something I made up on the spot. That is my actual BattleTech call sign that I have used while piloting a mech.
Now I want to play this. Like, I need more mech games in my life.
It's so cool.
My favorite mech game, nobody else really likes. Zone of the Enders. Like, it's an old
so
PlayStation. It's an old PlayStation 2 game that I'm absolutely in love with. we let's see. We've got because we're mixing our dark roast as well. So we have something that we call TTRPG confessionals, where if you feel like you have a habit at the table that might not be the best, this is where you confess and we give you your penance. Don't worry, all three of us will take part. Anita, would you like to lead the confession today?
Ooh, let's see. What are my confessions?
Oh.
I need to get better at sharing spotlight. Darby and I are co-GMing, and I felt like I was talking a lot. And Darby and I have decided that we need to come up with little hand signals for when for when one of us wants to speak over the other. So we've decided that this is now the call side. This is the side. It's the I want to jump on the call.
Yes.
So I need
Did
to
you
get
know
better at noticing and adjusting.
Did you know that Zoomers do this for a phone or this for a phone
Yeah,
instead of that?
because it's flat, not.
Smartphones. So wild.
I feel so old. I
Anyway,
didn't need to
sorry.
know that. No. Uh, um. Okay. Your penance will be. Your penance will be shortening your turn twice on purpose.
Okay.
Like if you feel you're starting to indulge, cut it and let your partner take the scene from there.
All right, sounds good. Uh, I tried that, and Darby went head empty, and I'm like, okay, I gotta pick up the reins. It was my favorite. Like, okay, Darby, go. Darby's like, I lost the plot.
Well,
I'm like, no, it's okay, we got this. Let's read it in.
Also, be obvious with the transition. Like,
That's
just
true.
like, what the thing that they do in volleyball when they set up the spike, essentially, that your penance is
I need to bump the
doing
ball.
that. Yeah, doing that at the table.
As I played volleyball. Did you know that?
I've never played volleyball.
Yeah, you have to bump to set it up, or you can do
I've
this setup.
just everything I know about volleyball I learned from Top Gun.
Fair, valid. Noir, do you have a confession?
I see. I knew it was gonna come back on me.
You were trying to avoid it, but it wasn't gonna let it.
Yeah. Okay. I like. I maybe my confessional is that I will always go for the feels, and maybe I should like listen. If there's a chance for my character to die heroically, I'm gonna do it. Like I can't help it. It's not like my characters have a death wish. It's just like if the setup is there, who doesn't want to go out in the blaze of glory? And maybe I should stop that. So
Stucky lives.
Does he though?
X-wings have a hyperdrive.
It was a squadron of what 6 or 7 X-wings going up against 3 Star Destroyers and having to hold them off for at least 5 minutes.
Long enough for our capital ships to leave.
If you do the math, Stucky is Ash.
So, can I tell a going rogue story? It's relevant.
Yes.
I know I'm misdirecting us a little.
No, it's absolutely all right.
First of all, I relate to both of your confessionals so much. I made an entire game where there's literally a mechanic in the game that once you do it, it guarantees your entire party dies. Like, that's me going rogue. Like, I get it, tragic sacrifice. And we had a game where, like, my character, we were on a Star Destroyer, and we had no backup that we knew of. It was just a team of 4, and I was, like, the old grizzled veteran. And like we were trying to get them to a place where we could turn off their engine so that they would like crash into the planet and destroy it. And like I set up at the top of a hallway, I'm like a sniper, and I'm taking out like one by one, but they just keep coming and they push me back into the hallway, and like they're all like piling through the door, and I like hold a grenade and pull the pin and turn around, and I'm just like, go. And then that campaign ends in the only person being left is the ensign, the total rookie, Yamso, holding it like it's Star Wars, it's manual latches, and it does not hold. If you want to keep the engines off, you have to keep that like safety held down. And so he is just like holding that switch as the Star Destroyer begins to descend through the atmosphere towards the planet. And then all of the friendly X-Wings arrive for backup, but it's too late. The only way to take it down is to keep going. It's already falling. And so only the ensign is left alive of our team, and just knows that someone knows. The person that the ensign was a huge like fan of, like the person he wanted to be validated by, who was an X-Wing pilot, shows up and is like, Godspeed, may the force be with you. Boom.
Ah, the feels.
Oh, it's one of my favorite games.
Noir, your penance is find a character attachment that gives your character a reason to live.
But that attachment is why he dies. Okay, I will.
My heart.
I will do that.
Do it for friendship or for love.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Okay, I'm good. I'm not gonna cry.
Okay, but here's the mental judo that my broken feels brain does. Like it's like find an attachment that inspires them to live, and I'm just like, those same attachments are why my character makes the sacrifice in the first place.
I thought about this a lot with going rogue, and like it's partially a fantasy of wanting to have something that matters, right? Like we live in a world where it's so difficult to believe that anything we do politically is going to like create a meaningful change in the world. And in the end, the like desire to play out the sacrifice is a desire to say, I know this thing I am doing is worth dying for, or I wouldn't do that. And so it's this like empowerment, right? It's to say, like, by nature of the fact that we're giving our lives for it,
Yeah.
we know we have that one moment of clarity that the thing that we have done matters. And that was what went into going rogue for me. It was, I write in the end of the book, it was during a moment of real like political, like I felt very lost in my politics. I was feeling very dispirited, and I needed to write a game about doing something that mattered. And that's really where that comes from, at least for me.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I know exactly when this spark happened in me. I was watching The Man in the Iron Mask, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's a scene where the Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan, and the Man in the Iron Mask are cornered. There are soldiers on the other side of the hallway just waiting to gun them down. And the Three Musketeers decide, these are soldiers that were weaned on our stories. Maybe if we just charge in, there's a chance. And D'Artagnan's like, I trained these men to kill, so like if we do this, we're gonna die. But if we are gonna die, then we're gonna choose the ending of our story. And they all have their own reasons for running down the hallway. And like they do the thing, all for one for all, and they put their swords in, and the guy in the man in the Iron Mask asked permission to put his sword in, and it's just like this real moment of if you're doing this, you define who you are. And I think what really drew that to me is that I feel very much like you. We are in a world where everybody wants to define you. Everybody wants to have a say in your story. Everybody wants to choose how you progress. And that one scene was like the definitive, I'm choosing my own story. Like which I love has become such a popular theme in our media now. If you like look at Spider-Verse, but like back, this is the first time I encountered that trope. And so when my character makes that decision, it feels like, this is who I am. I get to cement it, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And I don't know. I'm addicted to that control. I think it's a thing about control with me, where it's just like, I can't control how somebody reacts to me IRL. But when you think of Stucky, you think of that moment where he said, my team's gonna make it out of here, even if I have to solo 3-star destroyers. And I'm addicted to like being able to go, that's who he is. Because I can't do that with me. Like, in real life, you see me, you get to come up with whatever story you think I lived. But with Stucky, that's mine.
You get that defining moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
See, we did the fields again.
We did. We did. We dosed headlong into fields territory. Jess, what is your confession?
What is my confession? So first of all, like I said, it's already both of yours too. I love to talk. I'm sure you already can tell from this podcast. I love to talk, and so I take up a lot of space at the table, and I sacrifice my characters all the time. I make games about doing it, but
I gotta get on your level.
My number one, I backseat GM. I backseat GM way too often. I was the forever GM for quite a long time. I have a lot of opinions on how to GM. I also play a lot of GM-less games. I had a year or two where I basically didn't play anything but GM-less games, and it has like cultured me to always to think that that is a distributed responsibility. And so I'm always like, well, what if it was actually this? Or can I play that on NPC? I do think more games, even GM'd games, should let players play NPCs. Like, I think it's really good to like move NPCs around the table. We do that at one of my home games. My friend M has a game called Space Trio, which is like a little Star Wars game about like being a 3-person mainline Star Wars party, but like moves NPCs around the table. We all play them, and I really like that. But I will do that in games where it's not being explicitly invited, and so I really like
that. I'm sorry. I'm just taken aback by having players play NPCs. Like,
it's so wonderful because different people have like different strengths as NPCs, and it also allows you to have multiple NPCs in a scene and have like the GM and the player talking about them. It lets you get attached to multiple characters. I wish I could remember the system right now, but there's a system that has major and minor
Star Trek
characters.
Adventures has your principal characters, and they also have supporting characters that players can jump in as well.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I should check out Star Trek Adventures.
It's good. It's a good game. Sometimes it can get a little crunchy, but it does a good job of making it feel like you're in an episode of Star Trek.
Yes.
See, that's why we need just take a look at it, because if there's anybody that can streamline it.
Thank you. All of my games so far are 35 pages. I really try to find tight, small games, and so I would love to.
I appreciate that. My ADHD brain can't handle like big rule books, so I usually like condense the rule sets for a game down to like in my brain to about 5 or 6 pages of rules.
When I see a 400-page rulebook nowadays, which is like so standard in a corner of TTRPGs, I'm just like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I'm not reading 400 pages. Why is your system?
Everything I need to know Cipher system can fit on this mat. Why is the book 700 pages?
Yes.
To be impressive. It's kind of stepping away from the confessions for a second. You mentioned wanting to have like, in your God Emperor segment, wanting licenses. If you could get your hand on one license,
Battlestar. Doesn't take me any amount of time. Battlestar.
I was wondering if it was going to be Star Wars or Battlestar.
You would think. I'm content to file the serial numbers off. I don't super want to. It's a mess. It's Disney. I don't want to work for Disney. Sure. I know that whoever owns Battlestar isn't better, but like, also Battlestar is less touched. Like, there's less space already covered, and there's some problems in Battlestar that I want to challenge that have gone so unchallenged. Like, Andor is speaking to the Star Wars universe in an interesting, challenging way, but no one has done that. The way they write left-wing characters makes me insane. The Tom Zarek character as like everyone who promises to democratize things is actually secretly corrupt and self-serving. It's like, give me Tom Zarek and that entire thing, and let me show you a better version of this. I need it. Also, the aesthetics are just incredible. It's the best space battles in any sci-fi visual media. It's not even close. I won't even hear anything else. But yeah, I just both love the property, but also have problems with it, and I wanna challenge those problems. Going Rogue was also about challenging. Jyn Erso is a horrible character. I love Rogue One. I love the women protagonist. Jyn Erso is a bad character. And the Leverage playbook is my attempt to be like, what could Jyn Erso have been? It was very funny on the AMCA podcast. I talked about how I'm #1 lesbians for Cassian Andor fan club and have been since Rogue One came out. But then I talked about disliking Jyn, and Austin was like, lesbians against Jyn Erso. And I'm like, yeah, I'm also in charge of that fan club. But yes, I want licenses both for a thing that I love and for a thing that I want to challenge. And I think Battlestar is where I most want to do that.
Can I ask?
I was just gonna say that.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that on the subject of lesbians for Cassian Andor, I have a friend who is ace, and experiences the only like attraction that they experience is Andor. That's it.
That makes perfect sense to me. I completely get it.
Anyways, continue, Noir.
I was just gonna say, there's been a trend in the TTRPG space of like taking like problematic materials and beating them up and fixing them. And I've had the chance to play All the Witches, which is just a fantastic game by Emma Panda. And I'm very curious as to what's the motivation of like, oh no, this is not like, what's the motivation to like to kind of go into a franchise and fix it from the inside out?
Yeah, I mean, it's partially that I think I have moments of seeing close but no cigar, right? Like I'm like, you are so close to getting it. You have set something up that could be so good, and the like perfectionist in me is like, I want to finish this. I want to take it the last mile and show you what it could be. There's also that like people love these things, like with like classic D&D fantasy. Clearly, people are attached to this. So many people love Battlestar Galactica. There's a huge fandom out there, and so it's this desire to say, this thing that you love, I want to make you look at its problems, but I also want to tell you that you don't have to stop loving it. You just need to engage with it critically, right?
Right.
Like, it is not required for you to say this thing is gone from my heart, but you do need to be willing to say, this is a problem. How could we have done better? And the desire to like show people who love this media, here's what a better version could look like, is like very intense for me.
Heck yeah.
Love that.
It is. I hate fandom as it exists right now, like fandom culture, like the Marvel stands, and even like what Star Wars fandom looks like. I mean, it's always had problems. Like it's has a history of being incredibly misogynistic and racist, and like very unwelcoming to women and people of color. But I also hate the like uncritical lapping up of the Disney trough, which is very funny as someone who's very now down market from Disney, as someone who published Going Rogue. But like Going Rogue is meant to be a challenge too. And I can say I love Star Wars and say Disney is awful and the politics of the 9th movie are like straight up reactionary. And like it does not have to be in conflict to really love a thing and be willing to recognize its flaws. And I think fandom culture is often very defensive in a way that like, I'm not asking you to stop loving this. I'm asking you to engage with it critically.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love The Last Jedi so much, is it does put that harsh mirror up to Star Wars fandom, and it's like, no, these people are terrible and war is terrible. Why are we glorifying this? Here's everything that is wrong with this. And I think that's the reason why everybody had such an adverse reaction to the movie, is because they put that sort of like, no, this is what it really is like. These are the harsh truths that you have to face with. These are the criticisms of this thing that you love. like have at it. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's such a vitriolic reaction to. And I look at my co-host who is giggling as this because they hate this movie, but I love it.
No, it's fair. Like, no, like, okay, so there's two wolves. There's the wolf that's just like, you make a good point, and I understand your meaning, and you know what, you're right. The Star Wars fandom does need to be challenged. They have gone far too long without pruning the toxic element from their community, and this film was a great mirror to make them uncomfortable at what they've become. And then the other wolf is just like, but they fucked up Finn! God damn it! He should have been a fucking Jedi!
I 100% agree with that.
They promised us that, and they took it back. All the POC characters in The Last Jedi got fucked! Okay.
Both can be true.
It really, what they did to John Boyega is just like really awful, and it's so hard. It is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I think you're completely right, Anita, that it is one of the most interesting ways of like engaging with the history of Star Wars ever.
Yes.
And it sucks that comes in the same movie where they completely sideline the
Yes.
Black Star Wars protagonist.
Like, I'm not gonna let it get there. It's almost there, but I'm just gonna say this. I hate that movie because I hate the people that I'm in the same camp with, because It's just like, we hate this movie, right? Yeah, because they fucked over the PLC characters. They're like, shh, no, they ruined Luke Skywalker. I'm like, what? No, fuck.
It was so nice to have a movie go, the Jedi are bad, because the Jedi are awful. They're horrible.
The Jedi are awful.
Children. That's all what made the 9th movie. Like, I walked out of that movie.
It's just the Olympic level backpedaling.
Yeah, it was directly saying, hey, fans, sorry that we ever made you think about something or challenge anything. Here's our apology to the worst fans in our fandom. And also, it's just terribly shot. And so it was just like so clearly, directly, it like reversed things in The Last Jedi, like completely just like made them non-canon essentially. Like, it was all a lie and fake. And it's just like, it's so clearly Disney putting their hand on the scale and saying, yeah, we can't piss off the fascists in our fan base, so we're gonna change this. And it's like,
it's such a great microcosm for this country.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
It's just like a bunch of people got screwed over with The Last Jedi, right? But the only people that they cared to like appease though were the worst elements. The people going, what about the POC characters? They're like, shh. Hey, here's a black lady in the last 5 minutes of the movie. Shut the fuck up. What about the LGBTQA plus representation?
Here's a
Look,
kiss that
their
can get cut
lesbians
for
kissing
China.
off screen. Shut the fuck up.
It's so frustrating.
They can make sure that they appease the fanboys.
Speaking of those fanboys, they really are that guys, aren't they?
No, I see the
That
segue
guy
you're probably
segment.
trying to set up here. I'm just gonna make you do it.
Okay.
You got this. I believe you.
I know you do. Even if I don't believe in myself always. So, speaking of that guy, now my brain is blanking on things.
If you've been in the
Thank
TTRPG
you.
space for long enough, you've probably had this.
the pleasure of dealing with that guy. That guy is a veritable black hole of fun. Somebody, if they were yeeted into the sun, your experience at the table would improve tenfold. So, Jess, tell me, have you ever dealt with that guy?
I've dealt with so many that guys. Oh my god. Want me to tell my that guy story, or one of my that guy stories?
Mhm.
Just as much as you feel comfortable doing, by all means.
I'm not going to go quite for the like, out of game bigoted thing, but I'm going to talk about, even if this person turned out to be a bigot, no longer a friend. But the specific thing I'm going to hone in on, like, we played a game of Simple D6. It's a rule set that sits on 2 pages. Was one of my first non-D&D games, and like, you just made up any skill you want. Like you could have a skill in solving puzzles or whatever.
I've played it.
And
It's
it could
very
just
good.
Oh yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
amazing. And let's see, what did this player want to do? We played a like vigilante superheroes campaign, and they had skill punching, and skill punching stuff, and then the skill like fists or something. And all they wanted to do was every character they run into roll as many dice for punching them. Um, and I'm just like, you are presented with every option in the world.
Yeah.
You could be good at anything and like so many different things, and your only way of thinking about how you engage with the world is immediately doing violence and one specific type of violence to every character you meet. What are you doing? Where's that? Go to therapy. Like, was such that guy, and it makes it so hard to like engage with other parts of the campaign. Like you immediately cut off every other character's options by resorting directly and immediately to violence. It's not like I have a problem with violence in games. I'm making like a sort of splatterpunk game where everybody dies and comes back over and over again in Planet Fist right now. But like when that is your only verb in a game that has so much more, it just sucks all of the fun out of the room.
One Punch Man.
Yes, exactly. But without any of the things that might make that show interesting.
Yes.
One Punch Bland.
There we go. That's the name for that guy.
Yes. Yes, his name is now One Punch Bland. I'm going to use that.
Well, we're actually. Sorry, Noir.
I just got one question before we let you get on out of here.
Yeah, I can go a little bit longer.
It's a real quick one. You've done amazing things as a game designer. You're still very early in your career. If you could give any piece of advice to the next game designer, somebody that's coming up and they're not quite sure if they could join in, what would you say to them?
Playtesting. I know this is like sort of trite, but it really can't be stressed enough. There's a really good quote from Jamie Stegmaier, who is the person behind Stonemaier Games, who makes Scythe. He made Scythe and now published Wingspan, 2 great board games. And he appeared on the, I think it's called just like the Board Game Design Podcast. And he and the host were talking, and Jamie said, one of the things that I eventually learned, this is quoting him, is that when you have written down an entire rule set, you don't have a game. You have an idea. You have an idea that you've written down, which is like one step further than just having it in your head. But you have an idea. Game design is playtesting. Game design is trying out that idea and seeing how people experience it, and then going, does this work? What doesn't work? What can I change? And keep doing that. And so the thing I can tell you more than anything is, as soon as you have enough of a game to sit down with someone and play it, don't hold on to it. Don't keep defending it. Don't try to keep like making it perfect in your head. Just put it in front of some players and play it, and you will learn 10 times more than working on that game on a piece of paper for the next 5 years. Like when I made Going Rogue, it was for a 2-month game jam, and I like immediately sat down and planned 3 play tests within 3 weeks, and like it was intense. But that's what it took. And like I have the high ground. I played that game like 20 times in 4 months because it is the process of playtesting that makes a game. And so yeah, playtest. I think the Board Game Design Podcast ends every time, and like the guest and the host, whoever the guest is, saying, and remember, playtest more. That's my best advice.
I have a question kind of jumping off of that before we sort of duck out of here. So how much do you feel that some of your designs change from the playtest phase to the final polished product?
Yeah, it can depend in a couple different ways, but like if we look at the Scum and Villains expansion, which is my latest Galactic expansion, of the 8 moves added to the Scum and the Villainy pillars, which are sort of the centerpiece of this expansion, 7.5 of them were replaced from the first version. I took half a sentence from the first version, and that is what ended up in the final version. Everything else was trimmed and changed through playtesting. I have the high ground. A lot more of it survived. Like the bones of that game existed as they did in the beginning, and it was more adding a lot of like tips so that players understood what they were doing. The number one thing that changed, here's one for Anita who's played it. If you rolled, Anita, I cannot believe this. You rolled 3 when the score was 3 to get the exact same, because there's different mechanics for if you roll under
Yes.
or over or exactly your current score.
I realized as I was doing it that I had no I'm like, I feel like I did this wrong, but then it worked out, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yes. And it used to be if you rolled exactly your score, game end. Like they won, game end. That was the risk of doing your penalty move. And that happened in the first playtest, which is like wild probability wise. And my playtester, Seda, who's the design consultant, had an awful time.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be real. Also, I've cried at 3 of my 5 first playtests. I feel very dearly about my games. It is challenging. It's emotionally challenging to see people like struggle with your game. But like clearly it was upsetting. We had a whole story we were telling, and then it was just gone and done. And so I have the high ground's bones, like all survived, but like that was immediately like, no, this mechanic does not work. I cannot send out a game like this. The entire opening mechanics all weren't there at the beginning of I Have the High Ground. It just expected you to figure out what to do on the first turn. And so that was like picked up in playtesting. Going rogue, originally it said you could use base game playbooks, like you could use things from Galactic. And then we tried that and I was like, these are a completely different tone. These are meant for a different game. If you use those here, you're going to end up with a clashing party that does not tell the right story. You can't, I'm saying explicitly, don't do that. And so plenty of the bones of a game will survive. Because it's the intent that survives. It's what you want the game to be, and it is working that out. But sometimes you just didn't realize that in your first try, and you might have to cycle everything out or like completely remove a specific mechanic. But it depends.
So would you boil that down to playtest and don't be precious?
Yes, absolutely. That is a great way to boil that down. I might be quoting you on that.
That might be a shirt.
Never hold, like, you have to kill your darlings. And like sometimes you know when you're confident about a thing that it works, but like if players aren't having fun, don't keep it.
Sure.
There you go.
And the very last thing that we do is community spotlight. If there's anybody in the space that you feel should, get some light, get some love, this is where you can drop them. And then after that, we'll say our goodbyes and give you your Saturday.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll say that again after I answer your community spotlight question, which is to say Seda. Seda is the design consultant on Scum and Villains and I Have the High Ground and all of these games. They released their first game just like 2 months ago. It was for Fishblade Jam. I don't know if you saw the feed that got viral about Fishblade.
We love Fishblade.
They released a Fishblade Jam game called Hook, Line, and Cyber, in which fish, you play Go Fish as the mechanics for this cyberpunk heist game. And Blade is you choose your blade, and it can be shoulder blade for like a physical character, or it can be like a knife blade. There's like so many interpretations. And you play Go Fish, and each card in your like set of 4 from Go Fish is a different aspect of your job. It's like your target, your client, your in, and your opportunity. And what Seda does with tables in that game is unreal. I have never seen generative mechanics like random tables that do so much. It is a game you can pick up and play in 2 hours. It has no GM, needs no prep, because you just roll on these crazy tables and it generates all the information you need. Just play Go Fish, generate these tables, and tell stories. I cannot recommend Seda's work enough. They have been transformative on my games. Yeah, check out Hook, Line, and Cyber. It's great.
I've got the links to that in chat, along with the links to Seda's Twitter account.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course. Noir, do you have a community spotlight this week?
Oh, community spotlight this week. Of course, as always, my Stream Punks family. Love y'all dearly. Can't say it enough. I'm really gonna put a heavy lean on Sam. Last weekend, as you recall, we got out of here and took part in a a fundraiser for the Rainbow Railroad to get at-risk LGBTQI youth out of dangerous places, because unfortunately there are places that are becoming more and more dangerous, and getting them somewhere safe, to essentially a bit of an asylum. There was a Star Trek episode this week that really kind of hit that home. And so I just want to say thank you, Sam, for putting that together. And of course, if you have the means, please, please, please support our LGBTQIA plus family. We are under attack. So just do what you can, show a little kindness. And yeah, so yeah, that's my community spotlight. Sam, you did an amazing job. We raised $7,000+ on a random idea you had at 5 a.m. So kudos to you.
We love Sam to love in this house. My community spotlight's going to go to the the GMs that have stepped up to run shows on the channel, Abhorrent Abbey and Casper the NB Ghost. Thank you so much for agreeing to run games, and the players that are in those games are all phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what happens next with all of that. But yeah, that's my community spotlight. Yeah, I think that's about it for our episode of Morning Ritual. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm one of your hosts, Anita. You can find me everywhere at Panita or at Critical Miss. I'm a TTRPG streamer, graphic designer, producer, and cat mom about the space. And down here, Noir, that's you.
Is Noir. No, sorry, I got a message here. Is Noir. Hello, everybody. You can find me all over the internet as the Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Every Saturday you can find me here. Every Friday you can find me over on Gen Con for table takes, and of course every Monday you can find me over on Q Times with the Stream Plugs doing our alien game Beacon. It's a spooky time. And passing it right along to our fantastic guest. Thank you so much for joining us, Jess. And I hope you don't mind, but we're probably going to try and have you back sometime soon.
I would love that.
Yeah.
This was a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you so much for having me here. And can I just mention a few things?
Absolutely, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do your plugs.
Yeah, so you can find all of my games at justfromonline.itch.io. You can find my website at justfrom.online. I'm also an author. I had a story in Clarkesworld last year. And I also do consulting and freelance. So if you're looking for a writer, an editor, a design consultant, I do all of that. And you can inquire on my website. I'm also looking for games writing jobs if you see those around. If you want to check out I Have the High Ground, Going Rogue, it's there. If you're excited about the idea of the Lancer module or the Going Rogue print edition, I have a newsletter on my website, and you can just put your email in. I never send more than one email a week. Usually it's more like once a month, and it just lets you know what's going on with my work, and it often gets exclusive discounts or exclusive content. So sign up if you want to find out about all these future projects. Thank you all for having me. Thanks for asking questions in chat. This was so fun.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
And with that, I think we are going to head out for the day. I thank you again, Jess, for agreeing to hang out with us, and thank you all so much for stopping by. And we are going to head off. Noir, you mentioned the lovely Delevely, so we're going to go say hi to Sam over there. And yeah, thank you again for stopping by and hanging out with us. But until next time, the ritual has concluded. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.